Welcome to Built on Faith Homestead. I know it's been a while since we've done a video. With deer season going on, just too much going on between everything we have to do and trying to deer hunt during the regular rifle season or the regular rifle portion of the Missouri deer season. And so something had to give, and what had to give was videos. I had to take a little break on trying to get videos done and all those kinds of things. So today we're processing the deer that I shot, and you may be thinking, Justin, it's been a long time since you shot that deer. You're right, it's been about 8 days. The furthest I've ever let one age is 9 days, and it was fine. I let this one hang for several days up in the tree because the weather was perfect for it. And then the last couple days have been warm, so I had quartered it down and got it in the cooler on ice for the last couple of days here. And we are going to go ahead and get it processed up today. You can see Leah hanging out watching me out the window of the bedroom right here. We're going to go ahead and get it processed up today. And part of the video today, I want to talk about meat grinders. So we ordered a Meat brand grinder, right? That's the brand name, is Meat. And I'm not affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form. No sponsorship, no nothing. However, we've been looking for a grinder for some time, and as I hunted and pecked and did all the research I could do, research is research, using it's using it. They're two different things. However, I try to do all that I can to make sure that we're getting a good quality product. And I like the reviews I was reading about these grinders from other websites and those kinds of things, not just the reviews they posted. The product testing that I was reading from other companies, whether those are accurate or not, I don't know, but it's all I could find. It's all I could base my decision off of for the most part. And so we went ahead and ordered a Meat brand, or Meat Your Maker brand grinder, and we'll kind of show you what we got. We'll try to do reviews. First time I've ever used it is today, and we'll show you what we think of it. If you're interested in doing these kinds of things, I will say that these grinders are very reasonably priced. Part of their business model is that they sell direct to customer rather than selling to a wholesaler and then you having to buy it from, or selling it to a retailer and then you having to buy it from a retailer. So that saves you some money. And I'll be honest with you, for the pound for pound, weight for weight, amount of weight that it says it can grind a minute and an hour and all those things, I couldn't find anybody to match the price. And I'll just kind of show you a little bit about the product. I'll show you what I already like about it without ever using it so far. So here is the grinder we got from their website, the 500 watt meat grinder. Of course, they make them a whole lot bigger, but the bigger they get, the more expensive they are. And truth be told, we could not reason as of right now to spend any more money on it than what we spent on it, because we only grind meat for our own personal kind of family and help our friends and those kinds of things. This thing says it will do like 330 pounds an hour worth of meat. It will crank out. If you can feed it that fast, it will run it through there. So that's plenty good enough for us. So far, what I do like is the ease of putting it together. I've used a few grinders before. This is probably the easiest one I've used as far as putting it together. It's got this little handle out front that helps line everything up that I really like. Everything seems built really solid when you pick it up. It feels solid. The parts feel solid, all metal parts, all those kinds of things, or at least in all the grinding part, it's all metal parts. This is obviously plastic, the little push tube. I want to say this, what I want to say about it though, is I took the cap off, and all of the sausage stuffing implements, the extra grinding plates, all that stuff, it all fits in this little tube, which keeps everything together. I don't have to hunt and peck around for it or keep it in a separate bag and then lose the bag or anything like that. It all stays in this little packing tube, right? The tube you use, do not ever stick your fingers down in there, right? Spit your meat up here, work it down into this hole, and then you push it down with this tube, and it pushes the meat back out of the plates here if you've never used one. But it keeps everything right here together. My plan is to be fair with this thing, I'll do a coarse ground first, and then I'll do a fine ground on the deer meat. And we'll just kind of see. It's got a pretty good sized tray. I will say that online, for whatever reason in my head, this thing was going to be quite a bit smaller than what it is, which is what had me tempted to going up to the bigger model. However, after getting it home and reading about it here, looking into it, I feel like this is a good size for us. We can store it in the tiny house. It's not going to take up a bunch of space. You can kind of see, right, there's thing of freezer paper next to it. Here, let me put like a decent sized coffee cup next to it. Maybe that'll help. There you go. That's a pretty good sized little coffee cup next to it. So that's what we're looking at, and I'm excited to use it. It feels, just holding it, right, it feels like a good quality product, and so I'm looking forward to trying it. I'm looking forward to trying it. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but sometimes you pick up a piece of equipment or something and it's just, man, like this feels like it's going to be junk, right? So we'll get into it, see what happens. Once again, not affiliated at all with Meat Brand products, make no money off them, right? Nothing like that. However, the reason why we want to do this review is if you are into this kind of thing, guys, I'll just be honest with you, right? Right now, these are on sale for like 89 bucks. And if you're interested in this kind of thing, I don't know how you can do it much cheaper if you're on a budget like we are. And you're just trying to find a way to help, man, this here may be a good thing for you. So we're going to get to work on it and see what happens. All right, guys. I want to show you this. I told you I wouldn't show you too much of the processing other than the grinding, and we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But I can't stress enough, hanging your meat, aging your meat. Usually here in Missouri, the weather is not fit for hanging. Usually it's kind of like it is now, where today it's going to get up pushing 60 later today, which is not good for hanging meat. But here the last couple of weeks, it's been good and cold. So we let this deer hang. I think he hung 6 days in the tree, and then, no, that's not right. 7 days in the tree, and then about a day in the cooler here. Mind you, this was about a 1.5 year old buck, I think. Right, probably had his first set of real horns. Last year, he was probably a yearling with buttons. This year was his first set of horns. So it's traditionally pretty tender meat anyway. But we let this guy hang, and then we finished him off in the cooler until we were able to go ahead and process this deer down. This was 8 days total, right? 8 days total of aging this meat. And this is just a section off the hind quarter. And I know you can't see it on there, but I can, if I push hard enough, I could poke my finger right through that meat. The meat's not rancid, it don't stink, it doesn't really have a smell at all other than just kind of a meat maybe smell if you stick your nose right on it, but if you stick your nose on it and smell, nothing foul, nothing bad at all. And this is good, tender, quality meat. Now, if you can't hang it up in the tree, put it in a cooler. Really get your ice around the separate pieces of meat, right? Don't just layer the meat in there and then dump all your ice on top. That's not going to work. You're going to have some rotten meat when you're done. But if you really get this ice surrounding your meat in the cooler, and you drain the water off, and you add ice, and you drain the water, and you add ice, if you'll do that 4, 5, 6, 7, I don't know how long you can go, right? 9 days is the furthest I've went. This one's 8 on this young buck. And guys, I am telling you, finger tender. Finger tender. Obviously, you can see here what's left of this hind quarter. You gotta take all this silver skin off and all that kind of stuff. But here, all this stuff's taken off. I'm gonna cut it down into chunks because that's what we use the most. And then we will have some grind meats when we're done. But guys, please, 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 if you want your family to like deer meat, if you want your family to be super excited about you going hunting, treat this meat properly, and it will be some of the best tasting meat you ever will eat. I promise you. So, we got all of our deer chunk worked up. We got our grind meat that I'm going to grind. Now, I will tell you, this meat is not crusty cold. It's cold, but not crusty cold, which is kind of what you want to look for when you're grinding deer meat. But I'm getting ready to run the first batch through. Once again, I'm going to do it coarsely, and then I will do a fine grind on it here in a little while. I don't have a ton of grind meat because we choose to eat most of ours in chunked up meat. So I'm going to turn this on. It's going to be loud. There's the grind. We'll start fishing some meat through. What happens here. let me set my phone down, quit recording. I can't feed it fast enough holding my phone, which is a good problem to have. First time ever using a grinder, for sure. Or using this particular brand, new to me grinder. But it's not even slowing down on this deer meat. It is just flat, getting right through it, which is good. It's a good thing. All right, guys, I'm gonna set this phone down and try to feed this thing. All right, guys. So I don't know how much weight this is. We'll go through it in a little bit. But honestly, just as fast as I could shove it in the hole, it was grinding it up. And if you ever ground deer meat, the ligaments and stuff can really cause you issues, but man, I didn't have no problem. And that wasn't even crusty meat. That was meat that was in a metal bowl that was sitting on ice as I was working up other meat. I was just taking my chunks that I was going to grind and keeping them in that bowl as I work through the rest of the deer. Because like I said, primarily I just chunk it up because we use it for stir fries and fajitas and steaks and sandwiches, and we don't use a ton of burger meat. We use some. We'll use it to make meatloafs and chilies and tacos and those kinds of things. But we found that we use chunk meat way more. But man alive, I am not gonna lie, I'm pretty impressed with this thing. Granted, that's the first time I've ever used it. Now, I've used several grinders over there. I've used KitchenAid grinders. I've used other just small kind of home grinders. I've used great big commercial grinders. And this thing's impressive. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing I will tell you I did not like, remember I said this cool little feature, this thing, this lid to pop off, and it's got all your grinding plates and stuff in here. I really like that because it keeps it all together. The problem I would have was if I jammed a little too much meat in there, right, and this thing got a little stuck, this lid would pop off when I would pull it up. It kind of needs some sort of locking mechanism of some sort, maybe. But other than that, that's a small detail to, man, that thing is nice. For the money, no more than what we had to spend on it. It will definitely pay us back in being able to do this. Other things you can do if you don't hunt even, you can buy large portions of meat to make your own ground meat. A lot of times you can find like a beef roast on sale for like $4.99 a pound, right? Well, in burger being who knows what, right? $5.99, $6.99 a pound. $7.99, $8.99 there for a while, something crazy. You can buy that big roast, bring it home, run it through this grinder, and then you've got burger meat. And it's cheaper than buying actual burger meat. Same thing with pork and those kinds of things. But that thing had absolutely no trouble with that. That was rather impressive. All right, let's get the fine grind on it and be done with it. All right, guys, there's the fine grind done on the thing. Once again, very impressed. Very, 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 very impressed. We'll get it loaded up, packed up, and done here. Get this wrapped up, and then we'll talk some more about it here in a little while. All right, guys, so I have to head to town to get a couple last minute Thanksgiving things that my wife is wanting to use. And so I thought I'd do a quick review, conclusion review of the MEAT brand meat grinder. I'm going to say this. I've only used it one time. That's it. However, after that one-time use, I feel like that's probably some of the better money we've spent in a long time. You just never quite know what you're going to get when you order online. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've had a lot of purchases that I was like, even after the first time using it, it's kind of like, I wish I wouldn't have got this. I should have done something different. However, that one I'm going to say was a good purchase, as long as it continues operating like it did. Once again, I've only used it one time. Not under ideal circumstances. That deer meat was not warm by any stretch of the imagination. It was cold, but it wasn't like crusty cold right out of the freezer, which is typically what you want to do when you grind it. I ground 9 pounds of meat to a coarse grind and then a fine grind, and it went basically as fast as I could do it. As fast as I could get the meat into the grinder. It never slowed down or anything. Still felt like a very solid grinder. The equipment feels very solid. For $89, let me try to put it in perspective, right? For $89, so call it 90 bucks to make it easy math, right? We're like 10 bucks a pound on that very first batch of burger that we just ground up. Every time I use that grinder, that price per pound will go down because I am producing more and more meat for us to eat as a family. Now, that's not complete, I mean, apples to apples, right? So if we're gonna do apples to apples, I guess I'd have to figure out how much my deer tag was and my bullet, and you can kind of go off all of that. However, you would also have to consider like buying extremely lean, organic, no GMO, no antibiotic meat, because that's the deer meat. And so, all things considered, then using that grinder to help us whenever we butcher like a pork or a beef or something like that, I would have no hesitation to take on a beef. I've helped butcher one beef. I would have no hesitation with that grinder taking on a beef and just saying, let's get to work. I think it will grind meat as fast as we are willing to work. And so, my personal opinion after just one use, mind you, is if you're in the market for a grinder, I don't know that one's going to let you down at all, depending on what you're really wanting to do with it. Obviously, if you're wanting to jump up to a more industrial level, butchering, processing, those kinds of things, you're going to want to get their bigger ones. However, that one in particular, very impressed with. So, once again, no money, no sponsorships, no nothing, but I do want to thank you, Meat Product, Meat Company, Meat Your Maker Company, for making a quality product that even people like me, who don't have a large budget, can afford to spend a little bit of money and really help themselves in the long run. If you think about it, that's why you buy a grinder. It is money that it's not very much fun to spend right now, but it will help you save money in the long run. Therefore, it's a wise investment, right? So I want to thank you guys for watching. Sorry we haven't made a video in a while. Appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.